Thank you so much to Madam Chair Capito and also Ranking Member Whitehouse for calling today's hearing. And I'd like to also say thank you so much to our witnesses for joining us. Mr. Secretary, in particular, I want to thank you for visiting Poplar Island in Maryland and seeing the important ecosystem restoration work that the Army Corps is doing in Maryland. And as you saw, the Army Corps' mission in Maryland is important and far-reaching, and the Corps is responsible for dredging near the Port of Baltimore, for undertaking large-scale ecosystem projects like Mid-Bay and Poplar Island, and for beach nourishment to protect our coastal communities. So I'm really glad that you had the opportunity. As you know, the Corps manages over 4,300 recreation areas across the nation, including one on the Maryland-West Virginia border. And these recreation areas support local economies and provide opportunities for boating, fishing, and hiking. In fact, nearly 212,000 boats are registered in Maryland, and boating remains one of the most popular recreational activities at Corps-managed sites nationwide. The administration's hiring freeze prevented the Corps from hiring seasonal staff who play an essential role in keeping these sites safe, open, and well-maintained. And without them, we saw closures, reduced hours, and limited services at recreation areas. Senator Kramer and I sent a letter urging the Corps to take immediate steps to exempt seasonal workers from the administration's hiring freeze, and I was glad to hear that the Secretary of the Army subsequently granted the Corps an exemption to hire up to 320 staff for Corps recreation areas. And so either of you can answer, but I wanted to check in, and maybe, Mr. Secretary, you can start. How many of the 320 authorized seasonal employees was the Corps able to rehire?
Senator, thank you for suggesting that I go see Poplar Island. It was enlightening, and I appreciate that suggestion. You're correct that we had a shortage of recreational workers heading into the spring, thanks to your work and Senator Kramer's work, and to the administration's very quick reaction to that. We were granted an exception to policy on hiring, and we have been working against that denominator that you referenced, approaching 100 employees that have been hired for recreation facilities. We expect that by next spring that we will be at a point where we will not have any impacts or minimal impacts as it relates to the challenge we face this spring.
Thank you. Now, I also would like to know whether you expect, in the federal hiring freezes, do you expect it to affect the work such as eco-restoration, and what procedures have you put in place to monitor and assess the impact of workforce reductions on other authorized activities of the Civil Works program?
Senator, I'm not aware of any impacts on the Corps of Engineers' 3 core missions of flood risk mitigation, navigation, and aquatic ecosystem restoration.
Okay. Now, the Atlantic Coast of Maryland Shoreline Protection Project is a long-standing effort to protect Ocean City and nearby areas from coastal storm damage, flooding, and erosion. It's managed by the Army Corps, and the project includes engineered beaches and dune systems spanning nearly 7 miles over a 50-year period. Now, these systems have proven effective and have prevented about $927 million in storm-related damages since the 1900s in supporting our tourism economy. This project relies on periodic beach nourishment, with the next cycle originally scheduled for late 2025 to mid-2026. However, the replenishment has been delayed and is now not expected to begin until September of 2026, and wonder whether you could speak to the cause of this delay.
Senator Alsobrooks, thank you for raising this issue. You mentioned it in your opening remarks that quite often the dredge material that comes from places like the channel that services the Port of Baltimore can be used for beneficial purposes, including beach renourishment, which is really about protecting coastal communities from coastal storm risk. And you're correct. The project in Ocean City that you referenced, as you correctly referenced, has a 4-year replenishment cycle. The last time it was renourished was in 2022, and so that puts us on schedule for 2026. And I'll defer to General Graham about any delays or causes for delay. I'm not aware of any.
Thank you. And General, maybe you can just say whether you foresee whether a 1-year delay, what impact might that have on the overall effectiveness of the project?
The coastal storm risk management project, Senator, that we do mainly the beach renourishment projects, we're working with Mother Nature on this, and she's awfully variable. And so we have this periodic renourishment schedule, but sometimes the beaches erode, sometimes they accrete as the storms move. So there's a lot of variables that go into that.
All right. Thank you so much. I yield. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.